I'm gonna tell you something that you're probably not gonna like to hear. Religion and dictatorships. Yes, dictatorships like Stalin, Muslim, this kind of stuff. They have more semblance than what you think. I'm not trying to piss you off. My point with this video is not to get people angry to engage. It's just to tell you what I feel in my heart. Christians say, I have Jesus in my heart. Well, I have these thoughts and these ideas in this certain, because for me it's a certain in my heart. Hi everyone, thank you so much if you opened this video and gave my channel a chance. It means a lot to me. I'm still in the beginning, it's hard to reach out to people. So please, if you like my content, help me. Subscribe, give me a like. It really helps this chance on my video to be shown to other people. So if you could do that for me. So everyone, before I start this video, first things first, I know I'm not gonna talk about a very easy topic to talk about, especially the way that I'm approaching it. I know this is a sensitive topic. I don't want to offend you, okay? Genuinely, I just wanna share my opinion, my perspective, share my thoughts. Also, hear what you guys have to say. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think. I have like 20 people watching my videos, but if you are one of those 20 people, let me tell you that I'm very grateful for you to be here watching this video, and I just want you to think. I just want you to leave this video, I don't know, with some doubts in your mind so you can go and search for yourself and see what you think. I'm gonna say something that many people don't like to hear. Religion and dictatorship share more similarities than we think. Why did I choose to discuss about this? Since I started briefly my YouTube journey, I realize that I'm talking a lot about religion because it upsets me. I'm an atheist and living in a world that most people believe in something that you think is made for control, because that's what I think. It can be mentally degrading. I try to reflect. That's what I'm telling you all the time to do. I do the same. I try to reflect. Why do I feel so much anger about this? Why do I feel so much anger about religion? And I learned that one of the best ways that you can deal with your emotions is if you stop and you write down what are you feeling. And that's exactly what I did. So I sit down and I try to write down why I am so upset this, and this is completely out of my brain to the paper. I am an atheist, and religion is something horrible in my eyes. I'm sorry, guys. Listen, I'm not gonna be gentle on this because I'm being honest about what happened. This is what I read, and I was doing for myself. I was not doing publish or anything like that. So it's not gonna be polished. It's not gonna be nice to the ears. It's me expressing my anger to paper and writing. They hold us back. Society, development, they are always associated with backward thinking. I hate the church. It's a corrupt institution. But the point that I want to make is that I see it almost like a millennium dictatorship, just in a different way. They control people. They repress us. Yeah, so I wrote this paragraph and I was like, okay, fuck. I never saw anyone talk about this. I never saw anything ever comparing dictatorship to religion. And for me, it's not that hard to see. For me, it's not hiding. It's subtle. I'm gonna explain myself better, but for me, it's you don't need to dig really into the thing. For me, it's very clear what are the similarities. But I also know why people cannot see it. Yeah, so you need to stay to the end of this video to find out everything. But let's explore my sentences first thought that I have a little bit better, carefully with some nuance, because this topic is it's hard. It's a lot of nuance. It's complex. Religion as a form of control. For me, religion is just a machine of control and oppression. And historically, this has basis. In the Middle Age, for example, the Catholic Church, they were like the kings on the block. They control everything. They had a massive, massive influence in everything that people do. What we have now, it's a separate state from church, and that's great. Thank the Lord. That ironic, right? But thank the Lord that we have that separation right now, because we have that separation. Can get a divorce, that the woman can get an abortion. The peak of stupidity was in the Middle Ages, and a lot of that is because of the church. Just a side note, be grateful that we evolve and we have this separation now. That's is just an example. The church always had power. They control and influence state decisions, directly influence people's decisions. Many religion systems restrict individual freedoms, especially for women, LGBT rights. The church is very backwards in its way of thinking about social issues like this ones. I don't know how, if you are gay and you are religious, how do you manage both? If this is your situation, please share it with me because I'm actually very curious. Let's not sugarcoating. We all know this is true. The example, people that don't support abortion, they normally use the Bible and God as an argument. People that don't support euthanasia use God as an argument. So, do you see where this is going? Freedom, individual freedom, is not important to religion systems. Your freedom doesn't matter to them. The person that you are doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is you keep following, comply, and tell yourself that you are going in the right way because you have Jesus in your heart. Doesn't matter how much is detrimental to your mental health if you actually are one of these minorities. Let's not forget about the Inquisition when the church was responsible for thousands and thousands of deaths. Innocent people, most of the time, they were just women. The Inquisition was just a excuse so they could put the blames of everything was going wrong on women. So it's extremely misogynist. Islamic countries where women they have to wear burqas and this kind of stuff. Burqa, I know that burqa is the most extreme example. Honestly, it disgusts me when women we need to cover ourselves up because men tell us that it's too provocative, and most of the times these stupid harmful thoughts is associated with religion, especially extremists, like in these Islamic countries, unfortunately. Traditional Hinduism as well. The caste system excludes and marginalized groups such as Dalitas, discriminatory practice against women in certain contents. The system of castes is literally putting society in the pyramid. People on top, people in the middle, and people on the bottom. And this facilitates, of course, a lot of stereotypes, a lot of discrimination. I just want to be clear that this practice doesn't represent the entire religion, and I know that you know that we are talking about extreme movements and radical people, but they show how it can be used as a tool of repression. This one is more about mental and emotional manipulation. The idea of bad and good, sin. You ever thought about that when we listen to these doctrines? And I'm speaking about Christianity now because that's what I know. God is mercy, but is also fair. So that means that he reprehends. And in the Bible, there is a lot of mentions when God was very destructive. The idea of guilt and sin is a tool to control you, to frighten you, to scare you, so you keep being obedient. They say to you, you better obey. If not, God will punish you. Did you never thought about this? It's just a way to keep you in your place. That's exactly what religion is, to be honest, in general. For me, religion was mainly created for two things: to give us answers that we didn't have back then, and to control society. Maybe in the beginning it was more about organized society. Even back then, they want to control the masses, control the populations. That's what they are still doing. It's just the fact that they tell you, don't question this. Don't question God. Don't question the Bible. Don't question any of this. For me, very clearly, that's manipulation. That's not random. That's just for you to feel guilty, to mess with you. You need to be very critical about this stuff. Just because it has a God image or because people claim that it is for God, think for yourself. Religion slows us and doesn't let us evolve. And this is actually one of the most common views among atheists and human scholars. We just need to look at history. Everyone knows back then, people think that the earth was flat. A few scientists came forward and started saying, no, actually the earth is round. And this for the church, this is heresy. You know how you dare? How you dare? We are the creations of God. We are the most important. And let me just say that using the religion to make yourself feel better, because it's hard to think that we are insignificant in this universe. The truth is that we are, and when this first scientist came forward telling the truth to people, the church was like, no, 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 no. No, we don't like that. One of the most famous cases was Galileo. Galileo Galilei was an Italian astronomer and a physicist and mathematician, one of the most important scientists in history. He did some important discoveries about the universe. When the church caught these scientists, they were killed. They were executed. What I think is really funny, because an institution that talks about God, and I guess God is about love and compassion and empathy, this kind of stuff, but this institution, he is always involved with straightforward murder. We also see a resistance to evolution by certain religious groups, retrograde opinions on abortion, sexuality, gender, among others. But I need to be honest, and despite of all of the criticism that we can do, it's fair to point out that the church also play ambiguous or even positive roles in some contexts. This is a very nuanced subject. It's not all black and white. For example, movements such as liberation theology have helped oppressed populations in Latin America, and this was a Christian movement that emerged in Latin America in the 60s and 70s, which proposed a reading of the Bible, focus on the poor and oppressed. Instead of focus on individual sin, it focused on social justice. That's rare, actually. That's the problem with this. Religious groups stood alongside civil rights in USA with Martin Luther King. Probably everyone knows, but I'm gonna say anyway. Martin Luther King was a pastor, and I don't think this is a coincidence. Let's not forget that in the United States you have big churches, and it's very different from Portugal. So I don't know exactly how it works there, but I see videos and this kind of stuff, and you guys sing, and you have a pastor, and sometimes this pastor can be preaching for 20 people, can be preaching for like 20,000. The black church in USA was a space for resistance and political organization. The church was one of the few spaces where black people could gather autonomously. So what I'm trying to say, the essence was not the church or the Christians per se. It was this minority, was the black Christians that were victims of the system, the racial system that fought for civil rights. They don't represent all of the church in the United States. It's just these communities. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of white Christians back then that hated this. Spirituality, I know that around the globe there is a lot of poor communities, poor countries. Religion, it strengthens the community. It's easy to say there is no God when you have a more comfortable life. If you live in poverty, you need to hold on to something. You need to hold on to hope and God. But in other words, criticism of institutionalized and dogmatic religion does not complete invalidate individual experience of faith or the community aspects that some people find there. I drew a parallel between religion and dictatorship. So, what are the main similarities between religion and a dictatorship, a traditional dictatorship? Both demand unconditional obedience to a high authority. Stalin as the main authority in the case of religion, God or Jesus or the Pope, whatever. People see these things in very different ways, a lot of types of Christianity. Let's simplify it. God has a main power. Both have historically persecuted dissidents, thinkers, artists, heretics, those who choose. It literally means those who choose. Is going after the people who think and criticize the system. Every dictatorship, this has always happened. People that go against the system, they are the first ones to go down. In practice, everyone that disagree with the doctrine or the dictator or the church, very similar of religion, of what they do. Both systems use fear as a tool, fear of hell, punishment, retribution. The other, all of these crazy dictators, they like to do parades in the street army parades showing how much power they have, military power they have. And the church, obviously, always, all the time, you're going to hell. If my videos had a little more views, I'm so sure that I will already have like comments saying, you are going to hell, you are going to hell. That's what people like to say the most. If you are Christian and you say these kind of things or you hear these kind of things, that for me, that's so depressing. I listen to a lot of true crime, and I saw this one case. This girl, she was very ill, but everyone thought they could help her. Everyone in the church thought they could help her if they just pray to God, but they restricted, didn't give her food, water. Priests keep saying to her, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. And her mental health decline. Poor girl actually died. And then they come to the priest and they ask him, why did you say that to her? And he said, I don't know. I say that to everyone. I think it's just like a automatic answer for so many people. It's just like copy and paste in your brain. You are going to hell. Because if people believe it, they're gonna fear it. It is worth remembering that there are less authoritarianism and more symbolic or philosophical forms of religion that escapes this, but these are the exception, not the rule. Why nobody can see that having a religion institution in power means having an institution that wants to control us? Why I feel alone on this thought, and why most people just gonna do like a confused face when they see this thumbnail or when they hear what I have to say? That's because of time. When you think about a traditional dictatorship, let's use the Italian dictatorship for example, the Mussolini state. Benedetto Mussolini, he came to power in 1922 and he stayed as a leader of the fascist party until 1943 when he was murdered. Benedetto came to power in the 20s and then he died in the 40s, and you can see in history this is a very normal and straightforward line, year that it starts and year that stops. But with religion, with the church, is way more complex than that because they've been around for a lot of time. They've been around for centuries and centuries. It's normal that you don't have the same perceptions of things. Traditional dictatorships are short-lived. But the church has been around for thousands of years and has accompanied the evolution of society. It's a fundamental difference. Time and disguise. Traditional dictatorships are often seen as a violent and localized exceptions. They have a clear beginning, visible repression, and an abrupt end. Institutionalized religion, especially when it's mixed with political and cultural power, infiltrates the structure of society over centuries, often in a naturalized way. It's been around for so long that it's so natural for us these days that we don't see anything wrong with that. The religion and state always going hand in hand, mix and change our society. It just means that it seems more natural to people's eyes. And this is exactly what can make his power invisible. Religion has shaped laws, habits, values, and even language, which is why many do not see it has power. This is a side note. I'm an atheist, right? And I live in Portugal. And despite the church and the state being separated in my country as well, we have Christmas. And Christmas is a national holiday. At least in my country, a lot of people don't celebrate Christmas for the religion anymore. They don't see Christmas as the birth of Jesus anymore. It's traditional. It's about being with family, having a nice meal, about love, but mostly about family. But we celebrate it in the day of the birth of Jesus Christ just because it's traditional. But what about Jews? They have different dates. What about Muslims? They have different dates to celebrate, and those dates are not bank holidays. So you see, religion practice, it's so integrated in our society that we don't stop to think. We assume this is normal. We grow up with religious symbols and practice embedded rituals, holidays, expressions. It seems like it's part of the social fabric at this point. The religion accompanied the evolution of society. It was present in monarchy, feudalism, republics, modern states. It's not questioned with the same gas we use for short and explicit authoritarian regimes. Michael Foucault spoke about this. The most effective systems of power are those that seem natural, those that do not need to shout to command. How to overcome or deal with? When you live in a context when religion exercise control over cultural, politics, or even family relationships, being an atheist can lead to frustration, anger, or loneliness. And I'm gonna tell you some strategies for dealing with this, both on a personal and social level. First of all, strengthen your own rating and emotional foundation. Knowledge is freedom. Studying philosophy, history, psychology, science, and even religion critically helps you understand where all of this power comes from and feel more confident in your arguments and choices. Reading authors such as Bertrand Russell, Carl Sagan can be liberating. Validate your anger. Yes, it's natural to feel angry about something that you feel oppresses people, but it is also important to channel this into something constructive. Second, find safe space to talk. Groups of atheists, agnostics, and humanists, they exist online and even in person in some cities, and they can offer a sense of belonging and acceptance. Talking to people who respect critical thinking, even if they don't agree with you, is essential to avoid isolation. And even small gestures, such as showing good examples of ethics outside of the religion, are forms of resilience. Take care of your mental health. Living surrounded by something you consider harmful can be emotional exhausting. Meditation, art, reading, and nature are some ways to fill that space that for many religions feels, but is a freer and more personal way. Hey guys, that's it. Thank you so much. If you watch this video to the end, tell me what you think. I'm not trying to piss you off. My point with this video is not to get people angry to engage. It's just to tell you what I feel in my heart. Christians say I have Jesus in my heart. Well, I have these thoughts and these ideas in this certain, because for me it's certain in my heart. If with this video I make really stink, that's a win for me. Don't forget to give me your opinion, subscribe, share, and I see you on my next video. Thank you.